gmna uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good evening, I'm Rosalind Carney. Tonight we'll unpack the Treasurer's plan to dissolve the $57 million Catalyst Fund to protect police and fire staffing, and hear the city's call for water conservation on Overflow Action Day as heavy rain looms. Traffic's light with only minor delays. Miles, what do you make of that?
The Chicago Summer Street Festival kicks off this Saturday in Logan Square, offering live music on 3 stages, food trucks serving global cuisines, and over 30 local artisans showcasing handmade goods.
Festival organizers announced free shuttle service from the Logan Square CTA station, operating every 15 minutes between noon and 8 p.m., to reduce parking demand and encourage public transit use.
Family-friendly activities include a pop-up art studio for children, a pet adoption booth partnered with local shelters, and a community garden showcase highlighting sustainable urban farming practices.
Lots to get to. Let's begin our news hour after this vibrant festival preview and explore what's happening across Chicago tonight. Here are our top stories. City Treasurer Melissa Kinnears Ervin proposes dissolving the Catalyst Fund, redirecting its $57 million to cover a $90 million mid-year budget shortfall and prevent police and fire layoffs as Chicago faces a $1 billion deficit. Delia Vasquez has the full story.
City Treasurer Melissa Kinnears Ervin is urging the council to dissolve the Catalyst Fund, the $57 million reserve created to support public safety projects. She says the money should be moved into the city's operating budget to plug a $90 million mid-year shortfall and keep police and fire officers from being laid off. The fund, originally slated for a 10-year lifespan, was meant to spur innovation in emergency response. The proposal comes as Chicago faces a projected $1 billion deficit for the next fiscal year. By redirecting the fund, the treasurer hopes to avoid cuts in staffing for Chicago police and fire departments. Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration has not weighed in on the proposal. Officials say the move would be a fix while solutions are debated. Delia Vasquez, GMNA News, Chicago.
An Overflow Action Day has been declared for Chicago as the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District warns that this week's forecast of several inches of rain could overwhelm the city's stormwater system. Residents are being asked to postpone non-essential showers, limit lawn irrigation, and avoid running dishwashers during peak hours. The district says the precautionary measure is intended to keep waterways from backing up and to protect neighborhoods from flooding. Officials stress that the request is voluntary but critical while thunderstorms move through the region. The action remains in effect throughout today and will be reassessed as conditions develop. The district is coordinating with city officials, including the Department of Water Management, to monitor pipe capacity and to advise schools and public facilities on temporary water use limits. Chicago area households are urged to conserve water until the rain subsides, helping ensure the infrastructure can handle the anticipated runoff.
Police responded to a multi-vehicle rollover in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood on Chicago's northwest side late this evening. The collision involved 2 vehicles that flipped over after striking each other on a busy arterial. Officers arrived within minutes, assessed the scene, and determined that both motorists bore responsibility for the crash. Each driver received a citation for violations related to the accident, though no injuries were reported. The citations address alleged unsafe lane changes and failure to maintain control. The Chicago Police Department reminded motorists that reckless driving on congested city streets can quickly turn a routine trip into a dangerous situation. Traffic on the adjacent stretch of Addison Avenue was rerouted while crews worked to clear debris. Local residents were asked to avoid the corridor until the roadway was reopened. The investigation remains open as detectives review dash cam footage and witness statements to confirm the exact sequence of events.
Cook County Medical Examiner's Office and Chicago Police seized 56 boxes of cremated remains from a South Chicago funeral home early Monday, transferring them while investigators search for next of kin. Delia Vasquez has the full story.
At about 1 a.m. Monday, officers from the Chicago Police Department and the Cook County Medical Examiner's office entered a funeral home in South Chicago and seized 56 sealed boxes of cremated remains. The containers, each linked to a body discovered in the South Chicago chapel last week, were immediately transferred to the medical examiner's facility for identification. Investigators are now canvassing the area and reviewing records in an effort to locate surviving relatives or next of kin for each set of ashes. The coordinated operation follows the earlier recovery of 56 decomposing bodies at the chapel, prompting a broader search for families and a review of the funeral home's practices. Delia Vasquez, GMNA News, South Chicago.
Federal prosecutors in Chicago announced today that 33 defendants have been tied to non-immigration crimes stemming from the Trump administration's Operation Midway Blitz. 2 of the accused entered guilty pleas, while 25 were cleared of all charges. At least 3 individuals were not indicted, 1 was acquitted after a trial, and another had his case resolved through a deferred prosecution agreement that dropped the charge. The operation, originally an immigration enforcement effort, is now the focus of a broader criminal investigation that has produced a mix of convictions and dismissals. Prosecutors said the cases illustrate how the initiative's enforcement tactics have spilled over into unrelated illegal activity, prompting a coordinated federal response. The outcomes mark the latest development in a series of legal actions linked to Operation Midway Blitz. City officials noted the broader implications for local law enforcement partnerships. Later, a severe storm threatens our city this afternoon, and we'll check how that could impact your commute. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes, the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Bally's has halted construction on its planned hotel and concert venue in Chicago, citing a dispute over video gambling licensing. The company announced today that work crews have been pulled from the site while negotiations with state regulators continue. The project, slated for a downtown location near the Loop, was expected to add several hundred rooms and a mid-size performance space that could host touring acts. Officials from the Illinois Gaming Board said the licensing issue centers on whether the venue can integrate video gambling machines alongside live entertainment, a question that could affect revenue projections. City officials have not indicated when construction might resume, and the pause adds uncertainty to a development that promised jobs and tax revenue for the near west side. Bally's says it remains committed to the investment pending a resolution.
Monday's weather outlook shows a sprawling storm system moving into the city, with the highest risk of severe thunderstorms expected in the late afternoon and evening. Imani Whitfield has the full story.
A massive storm system is rolling eastward across the Midwest, and forecasters say the most intense period will hit the Chicago area late this afternoon and into the evening on Monday. The NBC5 storm team has highlighted a window of more than 12 hours where gusty winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes could develop, with the greatest risk clustered around the late day hours. Radar shows the leading edge of the front already pushing into the western suburbs, while temperatures climb into the upper 80s, feeding instability. Residents are being urged to stay alert, keep windows closed, and watch for rapid updates as the atmosphere becomes increasingly volatile. Imani Whitfield, GMNA News, Chicago.
Businessman Liam Stanton announced today that he is exiting the Chicago mayoral race, formally withdrawing his candidacy and throwing his support behind fellow contender. Stanton, whose campaign focused on economic development and public-private partnerships, filed the necessary paperwork with the Board of Election Commissioners on Monday and issued a statement citing personal considerations and a desire to consolidate reform-minded voters. His departure reduces the crowded slate ahead of the November municipal election, leaving the remaining hopefuls to vie for the city's top office without his fundraising network. Political analysts noted that Stanton's endorsement could shift momentum toward the candidate he named, potentially reshaping alliances in key wards such as the near West Side and the South Loop. The race now features a tighter field as Chicago prepares for a pivotal election season.
City officials and project partners gathered in Inglewood yesterday for a ribbon-cutting ceremony that marked the sale of one renovated home and the signing of a contract for a second property. The two houses are part of the Rebuild Chicago 2.0 program, which has already transformed more than 70 abandoned structures into owner-occupied residences across South and West Sides. Neighbors cheered as keys changed hands, highlighting the effort to turn vacant lots into neighborhoods. City said sales demonstrate progress toward expanding homeownership and reviving communities that have long struggled with disinvestment. Officials thanked local volunteers and nonprofit collaborators for their role in the rehabilitation work, emphasizing that each completed home brings value to Inglewood and surrounding areas. Since its launch in 2024, Rebuild Chicago 2.0 has targeted abandoned houses on South and West Sides, and two latest transactions lift total renovated homes to over 70.
12 candidates have entered the race for Chicago's 2027 mayoral election, while incumbent Brandon Johnson has yet to confirm a re-election bid. Delia Vasquez has the full story.
Campaign signs are already sprouting across the city as roughly a dozen hopefuls file paperwork and hit the streets for the 2027 mayoral race. Among them, community activists, business leaders, and former aldermen are holding rallies, posting videos and courting donors, all while the current mayor, Brandon Johnson, remains silent on a second term. The lack of an official announcement has left voters and party leaders watching closely, waiting for any hint of a decision. As the filing deadline approaches, the field continues to expand, turning the upcoming election into one of the most crowded mayoral contests Chicago has seen in years. Campaign trucks roll through neighborhoods like Logan Square and Hyde Park, handing out flyers and meeting residents at coffee shops. Early polls show no front-runner, keeping the race wide open. Delia Vasquez, GMNA News, Lincoln Park.
Now let's turn to your evening outlook and see what skies await us tonight.
A stubborn ridge and a westerly jet keep Chicago dry as night falls, despite lingering humidity. On this date, Chicago's all-time heat peak sits at 94 degrees, recorded in 2025 during an unprecedented mid-August surge that ripped through the Midwest. The cold extreme is 58 degrees, set in 2019 when an Arctic blast slipped far south, shattering the usual early summer chill. By contrast, the climatological average high hovers around 77 degrees and the average low near 64 degrees. Those normals remind us that today's mild, mostly cloudy spell sits comfortably between the historic extremes, reflecting a fairly typical late summer pattern. The live radar screen is blank across the entire Lake Michigan basin and the city. No echoes are tracking in, confirming a dry, stable air mass. With near-average pressure nudging higher and a strong westerly jet aloft, moisture is being siphoned eastward, keeping the region rain-free through the night. I'll now turn to tonight's outlook. At 6 p.m., Chicago sits at 77 degrees, mostly cloudy with a dew point near 73, making the air feel muggy. Pressure is near average but beginning to rise, signaling a gradual influx of drier air that will suppress any late-night showers. Overhead, a powerful westerly jet at roughly 77 miles per hour streams across the upper atmosphere, venting moisture eastward and reinforcing the ridge that dominates the central United States. Tonight will stay cloud-laden, holding steady around 73 degrees until after midnight, then slowly clearing as the ridge builds. Tomorrow's daytime high will climb to 84 degrees under the same ridge, while the UV index remains at 3. Winds will stay light, shifting from the southeast to the east, and there are no active alerts. That sets the stage for the 5-day trend. Looking ahead, Tuesday brings a modest high of 75 degrees and a low of 66 under a mostly clear sky, though forecasters still see a 50% chance of an isolated shower slipping in from the west. Wednesday stays warm at 79 with a low of 66, but cloud cover thickens, leaving the city overcast all day. Thursday shifts back toward the lake,
delivering a high of 75 and a low of 73 as a slow-moving frontal band unloads rain with a 65% probability. Friday eases to partly cloudy conditions, high 75, low 72, and only a 25% chance of drizzle. Saturday rounds out the period with a warm high of 82, low 70, and a light rain chance near 35% as the ridge weakens and moisture creeps northward. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunset is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic's light today, plus our chamber spotlight on Bali's casino pause, and the Bears' new wide receiver signing. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
State Street is fully closed to vehicles and buses from Randolph Street to Wacker Drive, forcing all north-south traffic onto Michigan Avenue and LaSalle Street. Expect a 3-minute backup on Michigan at the state intersection and a 2-minute queue on LaSalle near the loop. CTA bus routes that normally run state, including the 22 and 36, are detoured onto Dearborn and Clark, so allow extra time for those trips. Elsewhere, traffic is moving smoothly on I-90, I-94, and the Kennedy Expressway, with only minor delays near the Dan Ryan corridor. On the rail side, the loop elevated lines are running temporary weekend routings. The brown and orange lines are using the inner loop track, adding roughly 5 minutes to downtown trips. Finally, the Blue Line's O'Hare branch will be suspended between Western and Jackson from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. tonight. Riders should transfer at Jefferson to the Red Line and catch the O'Hare shuttle. Overall, aside from the State Street closure, commuters should see steady flow this afternoon.
Today's calendar is quiet, but the city's cultural pulse never stops. First, the Chicago House Music Festival and Conference rolls in late August, running from Tuesday the 27th through Sunday the 30th across the Chicago Cultural Center, Millennium Park, and other venues, a must-see for anyone who wants to trace the roots of the sound that defined our clubs. Then on Tuesday the 25th, Stephen Wilson Jr. takes the stage at the Huntington Bank Pavilion as the secret weapon of the Outlaw Music Festival, promising a raw genre-bending set that could reshape the summer's lineup. Still on stage, The Notebook continues its run at the Nederlander Theater through the 16th, offering Broadway's timeless romance for a night out in the Loop. And for film lovers, Facets is still screening the daring anthology Blue film through Sunday, a chance to see emerging voices push the boundaries of storytelling. Keep an eye on the horizon, the summer's biggest moments are just around the corner. And now here's Theo with sports.
Chicago sports heat up as Bears, Cubs, and more shape their next chapters. At training camp, quarterback Caleb Williams fielded media questions as the Bears weigh a contract extension. Management's decision, whether to cash in on his rookie deal, stash him for future cap flexibility, or slash his salary, will shape the quarterback depth chart and the team's offensive identity heading into the season. The Bears added veteran wideout Ray McLeod III, a seasoned special teams contributor, while parting ways with undrafted rookie Kyron Hudson. McLeod's experience bolsters the receiving core and gives head coach Ben Johnson a reliable depth option, but the move also signals a shift toward proven talent over developmental projects. The recent Braxton Garrett deal epitomizes Chicago's aggressive deadline strategy, swapping a promising arm for immediate bullpen depth. By converting a starter into a reliever, the Cubs tighten their late-inning options, a move that could prove decisive as the club chases a postseason berth. Coach Ben Johnson staged a low-impact, varsity Bears walk through at Stevenson High School, giving the squad a chance to fine-tune assignments before a full contact session at Hollis Hall tomorrow. The subdued drill hints at a focus on scheme integration rather than physical wear and tear at this early camp stage. With a 98.8% odds of reaching October, the Cubs eye a favorable wild card slot as the 2026 postseason schedule rolls out. The shift from ESPN to NBC networks expands national exposure, and the early start in late September gives Chicago a chance to build momentum before the division series. The Cubs rode a 12-5 surge, stringing 6 victories in 7 outings and rallying in 5 of those wins. Pete Crow Armstrong's .345457621 line, 10 hits in 29 at-bats with 2 doubles, fuels his MVP chatter, while the staff leans on that offensive spark to sustain the stretch run.
Bally's Chicago in River West is the centerpiece of a sprawling casino resort that's reshaping the neighborhood. The company, a major construction partner, has been building a 500-room hotel, retail space, and a performance hall around the gaming floor. This week it announced a pause on most of those non-gaming amenities, putting roughly 1,500 union jobs on hold while the gaming portion stays on track for an early 2027 opening. The delay pushes back the promise of new housing, restaurants, and jobs that residents have been counting on. For a city that thrives on bold projects, Bally's represents the ambition and the labor that keeps Chicago moving forward. Stay tuned as we reveal the city's plan to keep 20 pools open through Labor Day and a concert at Millennium Park. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. The Chicago Park District will keep 20 public pools open through Labor Day, September 7th, to provide relief as extreme heat persists, including 13 pools in high-heat vulnerability neighborhoods. Roman Zabel has the full story.
20 public swimming pools will stay open through Labor Day, giving Chicago residents a place to cool off as the city battles a stretch of extreme heat. 13 of those facilities sit in neighborhoods flagged with the highest heat vulnerability scores, where residents face the greatest risk of heat-related illness. The Chicago Park District and the city announced the extended schedule will run until September 7, 2026, when Labor Day falls. By keeping the lanes and splash areas accessible, officials aim to provide relief without asking people to travel far from their homes. The move comes as temperature forecasts point to another week of sweltering days across the region. Roman Zabel, GMNA News, Hyde Park.
Broadway in Chicago will present its free annual summer concert at Millennium Park on August 10, featuring 13 shows with excerpts from local theater productions, including performances by Hosea Sanders and Val Warner. Roman Zabel has the full story.
Broadway in Chicago has rolled out its annual free summer concert right here in Millennium Park, offering a lineup of 13 snippets from the city's vibrant theater scene. Audience members can hear Hosea Sanders and Val Warner introduce each piece, giving a taste of productions currently lighting up local stages. The program weaves together drama, music, and comedy, all performed on the park's open lawn under the summer sky. Families and music lovers alike are gathering on the grass, blankets spread, to enjoy the eclectic mix without spending a dime. The event runs through the afternoon, with each segment lasting just a few minutes before the next theater's spotlight shines. Roman Zabel, GMNA News, Millennium Park.
Thank you, Chicago, for joining us tonight. That proposal to end the $57 million Catalyst Fund and redirect resources to our police and fire departments sparked a lot of conversation. We'll keep you informed on what comes next. Tune in tomorrow for more stories that matter to our city.